Welcome to the show. This is No Interference. We are your hosts, Westside and Big Sass. This is our Week 12 Thanksgiving, Black Friday, typical Sunday rehash coverage. Maybe missed the whole weekend. Maybe missed the whole weekend due to Thanksgiving travels. So we are going to get you all caught up.
Yeah, Thanksgiving travels and food comas and watching sports like everybody else.
Did you watch every game on Thursday? All three?
I watched most of the Packers line. I watched most of that game, but we were eating during that game. I watched almost the entire first half of the Commanders Cowboys game until maybe even into the third quarter until that one became like a blowout. And then 49ers Seahawks, I think I started watching. I think I watched the first quarter and fell asleep.
Yeah, I was eating while watching the Packers Lions. Took a pregame nap before Commanders Cowboys.
Nice.
And then had my second dinner, and I'm pretty sure halfway through Seahawks Niners, I couldn't make it and I passed out.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a great day for the NFL unless you were a Packers, Cowboys, or 49ers fan. The latter two games were blowouts, and the Lions disappointed their poor fans. So
that always reminds me of I can't remember who sent it to me, but that Family Guy meme where Brian, I think he's at the zoo, and like two lions jump out to attack him, and it's like on Thanksgiving. He's like, shouldn't you guys be losing a game somewhere?
I remember that. I don't know if I've ever even seen that episode, but I know the meme.
Yeah.
Did you send that to us?
Maybe I sent it to you guys. I feel like I see it every
Thanksgiving.
I saw. Brian's literally like, shouldn't he be losing a game somewhere?
Yeah, it's hilarious. I was actually watching the since we're gonna start with the Packers Lions, anyways. I watched the Larry Barry Sanders documentary that came out.
I haven't watched that yet.
It's all right. It makes you. I didn't finish it, but you just because how well the Lions have played this year, but then coming off of that bad, like I just felt I was watching. I was like, man, that's typical Lions to build up their fans, and they've been having a good year, and then like they can finally like have a impressive outing on Thanksgiving in front of a national audience, and then lose to a division rival that's not even that great this year. Just
it's very. I kept saying for most of the game, Lions will bring it back. Lions will bring it back, and then it got to like fourth quarter, and I think they got stopped on fourth down. And I was like, well, that's it. That was their last chance.
Yeah, just dug themselves a little bit too much of a hole to start the game, and I don't know. What are you going to do?
Well, might as well just dive into the coverage then. We already talked about it, but Packers upset the Lions 29-22. Lions fall to 8-3. Packers climb to 5-6. If you look at the stats, just real quick, the Lions led in basically everything. Goff threw for 330 and 2 touchdowns. Montgomery ran for 71 yards and a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 95 yards. Khalif Raymond had 90 yards receiving. Sam Laporta threw in 50 and a touchdown. However, as all things go, Jared Goff fumbled the ball 3 times and lost all 3. One return for a touchdown, one in when the Lions were backed up in their own territory. So easy field position for the Packers. And, I mean, 29-22, it's a one-score game. Lose the turnover battle. It's hard to get yourself out of that.
Yeah, I mean, they just dug themselves too deep of a hole in the first quarter. I think it was one of the first plays of the game. Was it the first play of the game? I think it was. Jordan Love hit Watson for 60 yards or something. Watson made a nice catch, and then they went on to score. And then I think the next drive, the Lions. Let me see. Yeah, Lions responded, and then they missed the extra point. So you're just like, it's gonna be that kind of day. And then the very next drive, the Packers went down the field again, scored. And then on the Lions' next drive, they had the fumble, and then it kind of just avalanched, and then they just couldn't rebound
I
from
will
that.
say,
Also, go ahead.
well, just what shocked me is I think the Lions have a pretty good O-line. One of the better ones in the league, left to right. And the Packers are just harassing Goff all day.
Mm-hmm.
Just, and I think Montgomery and Gibbs had okay rushing, like combined. I think they were like the team, they rushed for like
a $130,
130 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime it was a passing play, the Packers were just, and it wasn't like one guy. It was just the entire team was just getting after Goff. He was just constantly under duress.
Yep. Yeah, Jordan Love had one of his best games statistically, I guess, and efficient. 22 of 32, 200 and almost 70 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Opposite of the Lions, he had no sacks. They didn't really run the ball that much or that well. They had, I guess it was, I don't know, they had 22 carries for 109 yards, which includes a 37-yard run from Love. So, no, they didn't really run the ball that well. But it just goes back to, if they didn't get that defensive touchdown in the beginning of the game,
and got good field position from the Lions.
Yep.
Oh, we're not even counting when the Lions went for it on 4th down with that fake punt again.
Oh yeah.
In their own territory, and it got completely. The Packers were all over it. Like they were all over that. Like you should have just ran a regular play instead of the fake punt. So you spotted the Packers a touchdown and 3 short fields.
Mm-hmm. Too little, too late.
So, when you play the Packers, you want to put pressure on Love to make a mistake. He's not accurate and he's still young, and their run game's not good. And the Lions, unfortunately, did the opposite.
Yeah. This is one of the Lions. Hang on, let me pull up their schedule really quick. Now I'm failing. Yeah, so they had that loss against Green Bay. They were winning. They were beating the teams they needed to beat. They had the terrible loss against Baltimore, but besides that, they were doing fine.
They're 8-3. Like nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and they still have coming up at New Orleans, at Chicago. Those are 2 winnable games, even though Chicago's looked a little bit better with Fields back. And they almost lost to the Bears the week before last. But I don't know. They still control their own destiny, and they have a lot of winnable games on their schedule. They just have to handle business and can't let games like on Thanksgiving happen, or even the Bears game where they almost lost and needed a miracle 4 minutes. And they should be able to make the playoffs. I'm concerned about them in the playoffs. I don't really think they're a Super Bowl contender. I think they could maybe win a game in the playoffs, but I don't know if they're ready to go on the road and beat like a 49ers or a Dallas or a Philly.
I think they're a good team. I think Goff is underrated. They have players, but I mean, they have a style. Like I think they want to be a running team when they can establish the run. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's one of the better route runners in the league. Sam Laporta, as a rookie, is one of the best tight ends in the league. But they're definitely a front runner team. Like when they kind of get forced out of their comfort zone. I mean, they can do it. They're 8-3 for a reason, but against a good team, like when their defense can't just get after quarterbacks, and when you take away the play action and the run game from Goff, he's a completely different quarterback.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens.
It's been the same way his whole career, and the Lions. They're a few years off of being a horrible team, and they made a good run at the end of last year, and they're having a good year this year. I think they're going in the right direction. They just need to tighten the screws up on a few positions and other things.
They're going to the playoffs. I think Lions fans are going to be ecstatic for that.
Yep.
They're going to be elated. Next up, we have the Commanders going to take on the Dallas Cowboys. I thought this game would be close.
Can't do it.
Oh, can't do it?
Something went wrong. We're going to have to go to the next game. Sorry, folks. We just lost 30 minutes of...
All the footage has been destroyed. I thought it would be closer, but unfortunately, Dallas won 45-10. I'm gonna pull up the box.
It was a good game up until the end, the second half.
Yeah, like they went into halftime 20-10, and I felt like Washington didn't play that great of a first half either. So I was like, okay, it's close. But if you look at the numbers, Sam Howell threw for 300 yards, which is what he does. He likes to attack downfield, but he threw no touchdowns, threw an interception, which was a pick six, which we'll get to later, and he was sacked 4 times. On the flip side, Dak Prescott threw for 330 yards efficiently, threw 4 touchdowns, and was not sacked at all. Both teams ran the ball. The Cowboys a little bit more efficiently than the Commanders were, though. In the first half, Brian Robinson was like moving the chains, and then Curtis Samuel had a nice game, 9 catches for 100 yards. But if you look at the Cowboys again, it's just one of their typical games against bad teams where Brandon Cooks got a touchdown, CeeDee Lamb got a touchdown, Turpin got a touchdown, Rico Dowdle got a touchdown. And it's just the typical, like, the Cowboys are going to destroy bad teams when they play them.
Yeah, I mean, the Commanders lost this game after the first few drives. They're 4-7 going into this game. There's no reason not to be aggressive. It was driving me crazy. The first possession for the Commanders, they got to the Dallas. It was 4th and 7 at Dallas's 44. I get punting there if you're not a bad team. Like, just go for it. And if it's not a really good punt, you're not really gaining anything anyways. And it ended up being a 29-yard punt. And I think I was saying it during the game, they're going to get those yards back like right away. And I think the very first play on Dallas's possession, they got a 13-yard pass to Gallup, so that pretty much erased, like, you might as well just went for it. And they made Dallas punt, but then on the very next possession, it was even worse. It was around the same part of the field. They were on Dallas's side, the 43, and it was 4th and 2, and they punted again, and the same thing happened. It was a false start, and then it was 1st and 15, and then Dallas had a 35-yard catch to Ferguson. So it was like you may have you should have just went for it. It just shows Rivera is not. I don't know what he's What are you coaching for if you're making decisions like that? And it's been the problem with them all year. And you're going up a division rival. At the very least, you could have gotten 2 field goals there and been up 6-0 before giving up a touchdown. But no, you were afraid on your own side of the field. And then, like I said, it was a close game, kind of in the first half. And then, what was it? It was 10-20. And then, yeah, it just spiraled out of control in the fourth quarter. And like you said, the Cowboys beat up on bad teams, especially when they get out in the lead. I don't want to talk about the Cowboys too much on this show, but actually, I'm not going to bring it up. I'll bring it up next show because I didn't have the stats prepared, but I have an interesting stat about them. So we'll see how they do Thursday, and we'll talk about it next week. I'll save that one. There's a little teaser for this special stat I have.
One thing I did want to bring up, Deron Bland got his 5th pick six, which is the record for most pick sixes in a season. And just a little fact total about him. So I think he was a 0-star recruit out of high school, played wide receiver, went to Sacramento State, and I guess that's where he made a shift to cornerback. Then he transferred from there to Fresno State. I think he had, I can't remember, it was like throughout his entire college career, he only had like 2 or 4 interceptions, something like that. Nothing crazy at all. Pretty sure he did not go to the combine. Dallas ended up drafting him in the 5th round. Played a little bit last year. And then Diggs goes down with torn ACL. So he basically gets forced into being a starter. And I do think Dallas plays a pretty simple scheme. And they have, a pretty elite front 7, which allows him to, do his best, which is play zone coverage, keep his eyes forward, and explode towards the receiver, which plays perfectly for him to get these picks. But I'll give credit where credit's due, like going from a 0-star wide receiver to getting the NFL pick 6 single season records. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'll give it to him. It's impressive.
I will not accept people saying he's a top corner in the league because I think cornerbacks should be judged on coverage ability. Picks are streaky. It's just like with quarterbacks and wins. Like
he's very good. That. He's a very opportunistic corner, and he's really, really good at that. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's no need to. Not everybody needs to be the best guy at their position. He can be really good at what he does. He doesn't need to be, Revis. There doesn't need to be a Bland Island in Dallas or whatever you want to say. He gets the picks. He returns them for touchdowns. It's really good. But as of now, he's probably regarded as the best corner in the league, and that just makes it worse when he gets burned. Like if you just say like Diggs, what was it 2 years ago when he led the league in interceptions? I think there's a pretty, besides from like delusional Cowboys fans, there's everybody. I feel like everybody understands Diggs is really good at taking chances and getting interceptions, but he's going to get burned every once in a while. He gave up it was the year when he had a lot of picks. It wasn't last year, was it?
No, it was last year.
It was last year?
Yeah.
He had a ton of picks, but he gave up a ton of yards. Nothing wrong with that, but don't say he's a shutdown corner because he's not. I don't have the stats for Bland either. But I don't know. I just, the Cowboys are a good team. I'll admit that. I can't judge them differently than the way everyone judges the Dolphins, where the Dolphins, everyone says all year, well, the Dolphins haven't beat a good team. Their offense looks great against bad teams and when they have a lead, but they haven't beat a good team. That's the same thing for the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys' defense is probably a little bit better, even though the Dolphins just got Ramsey. But just at a quick glance, I'm just going to isolate Dak Prescott. Great. I just had it, now it's gone. But Dak Prescott's stats when he's ahead, he has 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 72 completion percentage, 113 quarterback rating. I mean, whatever you think about a quarterback rating, I don't even know how that's measured. But when tied, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 72 completion percentage, 126 rating. When he's behind, his completion percentage drops all the way down to 63%, only 4 touchdowns to 4 picks with a passer rating of 80. So take that how you want, and we'll see how they do when they play a good team. And yeah, I bet you they destroy the Seahawks on Thursday, and everybody's be like, "Well, they beat them with a winning record." But the Seahawks are like 6-5, and they haven't looked that good lately. So I'm still not going to give it to them.
Fair enough. Moving on. The last game from Thanksgiving, Niners at Seahawks. The 49ers win 31-13. At halftime, it was 24-3. So essentially, the game's over. Brock Purdy threw for 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. McCaffrey did McCaffrey things, got 100 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Deebo Samuel had almost 100 total yards and a touchdown, and Brandon Ayuk threw in 2 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. On the flip side, Geno Smith, unfortunately, 18 of 27, 180 yards, threw an interception, was sacked 6 times for a total loss of 48 yards. What's the Seahawks running back?
Kenneth Walker.
Kenneth Walker didn't play, so they had to rely on the rookie Zach Charbonnet.
I don't know if it's Nay or Net, but I think it should be Charbonnet.
And he only turned out 14 carries for 47 yards. It's less than 3.5 yards per carry. And meanwhile, none of the receivers on the Cowboys really did much of anything. On the Seahawks, did much of anything except for Jackson Smith and Jiba got a 34-yard catch, but that was it. It was just a dominant game by the Niners. Jonathan Hargrave had 1.5 sacks. Nick Bosa had 2 sacks. Eric Armstead had a sack. A few players chipped in some half sacks. But Niners are one of the best teams in the league, top to bottom. As long as Purdy doesn't have to do anything exceptional, he usually doesn't make mistakes. They're tough to beat.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you said it. 49ers had a lead. I think the Seahawks only touchdown, which you said that, right? Interception return.
Oh, I didn't even say that.
Yeah, they only touchdown of the day was a pick 6. When the 49ers were backed up, that was really the only mistake the 49ers had all day, and they still cruised to a win. The Seahawks just, I mean, they're 3-1 no. Yeah, they're 1-3 in their last 4 games. Got destroyed by Baltimore, barely beat Washington, lost to the Rams, and then they just got beat by San Francisco, and then they have Dallas coming up Thursday, and then San Francisco again, and then Philly. So the Seahawks could be looking at a 5-game losing streak and really drop out of playoff contention depending on how the rest of the league shakes out. So rough go for them. They need to find a quarterback after this year. Geno's not the answer. He was super efficient and accurate last year, and he's not playing up to the same standard.
They need to I would say they need to look for a quarterback. I don't think they need to replace him next year. Because his
That's
deal's
fine.
pretty cheap.
That's fine. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think it was a 3-year deal. I'm sure they can get out after next year. And he's not the only problem, but I don't know. They're just they got things to fix. We'll see how this week goes for them.
Yep. Well, moving on, we had the first ever Black Friday game. Miami Dolphins went to MetLife to take on the Jets, and as expected, the Dolphins won 34-13.
This game was
trying
hilarious.
Not to laugh. Going into half, Tua Tagovailoa threw 2 late interceptions. Basically kept the Jets in the game with like 3 seconds left on the clock, roughly at midfield. The Jets had the ball, down 6-10. Not bad. Well, the Jets decide they're going to throw a Hail Mary. Why not? Except for what's his name? Javon Holland picks it off right on the goal line and then takes off like a missile right down the midfield, cuts to the sideline. The only threat was Breece Hall, who gets laid out, and then he kind of olays a few guys who really didn't have the athleticism to touch him, and then he walks in for a pick six as the time expires, and now all of a sudden it's 17-6, and that's unfortunately already too much for the Jets to overcome. Raheem Mostert chipped in 94 yards and 2 more touchdowns. I think he's second in the league in touchdowns behind only Christian McCaffrey. As I said, Tua threw the 2 interceptions in the first half, finished the game with 240 yards and a touchdown. And then Jalen Waddle chipped in 114 yards. The Jets got a late touchdown to Garrett Wilson, but I mean, the game was over. Literally against the Jets, if you get a 10-point lead, you've won. Just don't turn the ball over and you've won.
Yeah.
Pull a water boy and take a knee 3 times and punt it once you get 10-point lead.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I don't know. The Jets their defense held out for as long as they could. Still made plays this game, but they're starting to have a few cracks in the armor on that side of the field, which was keeping them in games.
And I mean, if you have the chance to go down halftime 10-6, your defense has just got 2 picks to basically, keep you in the game, and then you throw basically a full field pick six. And it was a walk-off pick six because the Dolphins player just kept running right to the locker room, and like you could just feel like the Jets' energy was just done. And of course, Robert Saleh gets pulled in for an interview right then and there. I felt so bad for him. And he's just like, "Yeah, obviously that's not what we wanted, but we gotta go make adjustments." And I'm like, "No, just say it. You're done. Your game's over."
I personally can't stand him most of the time. It is funny when they cut to him on the sideline, and he's always, you can always read his lips, and they caught him this game too. It's like every game there's Saleh's saying something. What did he say? He was like, it was something like, "What the hell was that?" or something like that. But that's on. I mean, if the guy can't throw,
Tim Boyle,
if he can't get the ball to the end zone, you shouldn't do that. And they should have known that he couldn't. They should know that. They should know that. That's he was not. If you're gonna throw that kind of play, bring Zach Wilson in. Like the one thing he can do is throw,
scramble and throw.
Yeah, scramble and throw the ball far. Like he can't do a lot, but he can do those things.
They would have almost been better off just going for like a Breece Hall screen.
Yeah, anything would have been better. I don't know. I think. What did you think was going to happen putting Tim Boyle in? Like, do you really think it was going to galvanize the troops? Like, I know Zach Wilson's been bad and they were giving up, but what was Tim Boyle was the third stringer on a team that had Zach Wilson. It's just they got screwed with I don't know. Aaron Rodgers got injured. Boo-hoo. It is what it is. It sucks. They tried. Now, Aaron Rodgers said he could come back, which I don't know if I ever really believed. And I guess that made them more frustrated because they wanted to try to get into a position where he could come back and it could matter. But the Jets need to just stop being. Don't be frustrated.
In hindsight,
save yourself the stress, relax, enjoy being an NFL team player, and get back to it next year. Hopefully, Aaron Rodgers can play.
In hindsight, before I get into that, if you're the Jets, you had to have known how bad Zach Wilson is. It's not like he came off the bench and you're like, well, maybe he can provide a spark. And you're like, oh, we didn't know he was this bad. You knew how bad he was. You've seen it. This is his third year in the league. If you're the Jets, I think the moment, because you can't prepare for that. Aaron Rodgers going down first game, first drive. The moment he went down,
you can get a better backup.
Yeah, the moment he went down, I would have called up Washington for Jacoby Brissett. And I heard the rumors that the Washington was apparently like saying they'd only trade him for 2, but I mean, honestly,
if I would have given up a 2, there was 2. Zach Wilson. We've already seen the Zach Wilson story. The team didn't change for him to make them better this year.
And like, go back to I won't speak for the whole show, but me in the offseason, I was saying average Rodgers walks this team into a Super Bowl contender. Average Rodgers.
Maybe.
Should have had I think the run game would be completely different with an actual passing threat. I think Garrett Wilson's one of the best receivers in the league. And then we already know how good the defense is.
Yeah, I don't know. Because you look at some of the other pieces they brought in, they just, I don't know. Yeah, they would have been a contender probably if I think if Aaron Rodgers played well, they would have been a contender. I think if they got like mediocre Aaron Rodgers, mediocre Aaron Rodgers is a mediocre quarterback, so then they probably would be a playoff contender, not a Super Bowl contender.
I mean, this defense is so good. Imagine if they were like this defense is going into games thinking like we have to hold opponents to 10 points to probably still lose. With an average quarterback, they're like, okay, we hold opponents under 21 and we're winning every game. You have a completely different mentality.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, also, their offense doesn't put the defense in a better position. Aaron Rodgers, throughout his career, doesn't turn the ball over that much. So, I mean, you're right. At the very least, if they got a game manager, Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to do stupid stuff that their current quarterbacks do. So,
you also go from Aaron Rodgers, who's arguably the best Hail Mary thrower ever, versus Tim Boyle, who now is the worst Hail Mary ever.
That's true. There you go. Maybe they should have activated Aaron Rodgers just for all he has to do. He can throw. He likes to show everybody that he can throw. Maybe he should just come on for a Hail Mary. That's probably the best offense they'd get.
Maybe. But yeah, I mean, no one should have been shocked by that game.
We talked a lot about the Jets, and I don't want to talk about this game anymore because the Dolphins do what they're supposed to do.
Well, moving on.
Did you see the Tua's cut? That was gnarly.
Yeah, well, I just said I feel bad for his tattoo. Like
I was saying the same thing. I was like, that's ruined.
Yeah, like that was it's gonna scar up. It's gonna be
some just white meat.
Yeah, it's just gonna scar up. It's gonna be just a blurry scar on an entire arm sleeve. And it's not even like it's like a hodgepodge arm sleeve. It's like a whole Samoan pattern thing. And Well, not Samoan. What's the term?
How did it did you see how it happened? Cleat?
I never actually saw.
Yeah, me either.
All right, moving on. Sunday, first game of the day, we have the New Orleans Saints at Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Falcons actually get the win 24-15. And a lot of that has to do with Derek Carr decides to throw a, 90-yard pick six to start the game.
I don't know, and I'm not surprised because.
Well, did you
Derek
see the
Carr
video of he get asked about? He got is Jesse Bates and Derek Carr. I don't know if it was right after the game or yesterday or whatever. He got asked about the play, and he was like, "Yeah, well, when we hiked the ball there in single high safety, Jesse Bates decided to guess and jump the route. That's not really what his role, what his thing is for. He was supposed to be playing single high.
Oh my god, what an idiot!
And he was like, I don't usually congratulate players for doing something wrong, but
because he instinctually made a better football play than you.
Well, the meme was Derek Carr realizing that safeties watch his eyes.
What an idiot! I was such a big Derek Carr fan to start his career. Like, what was it? His second year, he was taking the Raiders to the playoffs and then got injured. He was having an MVP type year.
And so was Mariota that same year, but it broke his leg.
Yeah, but yeah, Derek Carr sucks. I said it last week. They'd be better off leaving Jameis Winston in. They're in the playoff hunt because all they got to do is win their division, and they could have had a 1-game lead. Now they're tied with the Falcons, and of course don't have the tiebreaker. Derek Carr just sucks. He sucks. There's no way about it. I don't know. He's just one of those guys that he wasn't even that bad on the Raiders. They just had a terrible team. They've had terrible defenses since while he was there. But he's just not good enough. He's one of those guys that goes to the next team and he was really never that good. And you're like, oh, yeah, he's not that good. Jameis Winston, we'd be better off with Jameis Winston throwing 2 picks a game because at least he'll give us 2 touchdowns. Carr will give you a pick and no touchdowns. He'll actually give points to the other team.
Drum.
Huh?
I said you've been banging the Jameis Winston drum.
Yeah, the other thing about this game is Desmond Ridder still sucks, but Bijan Robinson's really good.
Yeah, I was going to say, Bijan Robinson's kind of finally been released. He had 16 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown, and he also chipped in 3 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown.
Yep. They literally should treat him like it should be a Saquon Barkley rookie. That's how they should have been treating him the whole time, and they probably would have a few more wins.
I still say, and this is just complete speculation, guessing on my part. I think Arthur Smith was given the support of ownership and knows that they're a decent team, but not really anything special. Bijan Robinson is an elite talent. Why burn him out this year?
That's fair. I remember you saying that earlier in the season.
And it is 100% West Side speculation and just making an educated guess. The Falcons Tyler Algier is a good running back. Cordarrelle Patterson is a good running back. You don't need to stack up all these hits on Bijan Robinson his rookie year. I mean, look at Saquon. They gave Saquon like 300-something touches his rookie year. And like 300, it's something crazy. Like, I don't know. It was like 300 plus touches his rookie year. And now they're like, why can't he stay healthy?
I agree with your points. And if that is a strategy, maybe it's not a bad strategy. But like, you don't know if you're going to get any better. Like, this could be they're in playoff contention right now. This could be the best chance they have with Bijan Robinson on the team. I think if that's the route you would go, I wouldn't even draft him.
Well, yeah, that's the all people are going to say like, well, why you're not a contender? Why would you draft a running back?
I mean, I don't know. There's no right decision. I mean, he's a really good player. I don't know. I think if you draft a guy that high, you use him. You can't worry about, you know, running him into the dirt. I mean, they do have Algier, so they can use him too, like you said. But I don't think. I mean, Bijan got 16 carries. He was getting like he wasn't like he was getting like too little touches. Like he got 16 carries and 3 catches. He should get 20 touches a game, and that should be fine. That shouldn't burn him out. Like 30 touches, no, you don't have to do that. You have players, but 20. Give me 20, and he makes things happen.
Yeah, no, it's.
I'd rather see the Falcons in the playoffs than the Saints because I don't want to see. I'd rather see Bijan Robinson than Derek Carr.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Well, next up, we have the Steelers at Bengals. Steelers again get the win 16-10, though it's without Joe Burrow because he's out for the year. And Steelers coming off firing Matt Canada, put up 420 yards. Kenny Pickett throws for 278. Najee Harris runs for 100 and a touchdown. Pat Freiermuth has 190 yards. I don't think anyone's shocked by this. The Steelers have kind of been getting lucky all year. Like, I mean, it's kind of one of those things like, are they just well coached? Are they lucky? Are they well prepared? Are they lucky? But a little bit of both. And Browning for the Bengals, just there's nothing there. Like, he's not an NFL quarterback.
No. Yeah. I mean, go ahead. You can finish your.
No. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I took nothing away from this game. Everybody was praising the Steelers. They fired Matt Canada and they got more yards on offense. They scored 16 points. Kenny Pickett, he had 278 yards, no touchdowns. Najee Harris scored their lone touchdown of the day. I think it was their only touchdown of the day. And they beat a Bengals team that just lost their franchise quarterback for the year by 6 points. They play anybody else, they probably still lose. I don't know. I don't think the Steelers are 7-4. I really don't think they're. I don't think they're that impressive. They beat Cleveland without Deshaun Watson. They beat Las Vegas. They somehow beat the Ravens. I don't know how that happened. It's the Ravens Steelers. That's the only thing I can chalk that up to. They beat the Rams. They beat Tennessee. No offense. They beat Green Bay, and they beat Cincinnati. The only games they've lost were to San Francisco. Really good team. Brock Purdy's proven to be a good, reliable quarterback. Houston, C.J. Stroud's a good quarterback. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. And then they barely lost to Cleveland, 13-10. But I don't know. They'll probably make the playoffs because they don't really have a tough schedule.
Well, they play the Browns next week without their quarterback.
They play Arizona.
Oh, do they play the Browns?
They already played the Browns twice.
Oh, well, whoops.
That's all right. They play Arizona, New England, Indianapolis, they might not have Jonathan Taylor that game. Cincinnati again, Seattle, and then Baltimore. So they could go on a 4-game win streak, and the last 2 games won't even be that big of a deal. And then they're going to get trounced in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing from this game is the whole Deontay Johnson.
Oh, yeah. You had great coverage. Great coverage of that on Twitter. The West Side Analysis on Twitter, or X, sorry. Yeah, I didn't even see it live. I was following your coverage. What a joke.
Yeah, well, first there's reports that he got in a fight with Minka Fitzpatrick during the week, and like apparently it had to do with like his attitude and effort and whatnot. Um, and then yeah, if you haven't seen the play, it's on our Twitter or X account at the NI Show. You'll see it right away. Basically, the Steelers run the ball. I think they're about midfield. They run like I can't remember, like off to the left tackle. Deontay Johnson is the left side receiver, and he literally, when the ball's hiked, like I'm pretty sure, like hands down and like just walks at the cornerback.
Yep, did nothing.
He's lucky the cornerback didn't light him up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he literally just walks. The cornerback kind of just reads the play. I think it was Najee Harris was running, goes to a scrum like a Warren, goes to a scrum like 5 feet away. I guess Deontay Johnson assumes that Warren's just going to go down. So he just turns around, starts walking downfield. Well, the ball gets ripped out, bounces right to where Deontay Johnson should have been. The cornerback that he did not block and that he walked away from, I'm pretty sure, recovers the ball and then runs it back like 20 yards before he even realizes what's happening.
Yeah, it was a pathetic showing of heart and
one of the most least effort plays I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And then later in the game, he catches like a screen or something and breaks a tackle and then runs backwards like 5 yards and gets hit for a loss. And I saw Steelers fans were like, there's Deontay Johnson, runs backwards more than any other player in the league.
Yeah, so I got the play up here. The guys on the right side, Pickens and whoever their slot receiver is, it looks like they're faking a bubble screen type action. And they don't do anything either, but the play's not towards them. And they're in a squat position, like they look like they're faking. And Kenny Pickett runs to their side too, and then it's a weak side, or yeah, I guess that would be it's almost like a trap play with the tight end coming and taking out the tight end or the defensive end. But yeah, Deontay Johnson, the ball's hiked. Like you said, he just walks. He's looking at the play. He walks. He sees that it doesn't get the first down, and he goes like that. He's actually still facing the play when the ball flies out, and it goes right at him in the corner, and he looks down at it and then just keeps walking, and then the corner picks it up, and Deontay Johnson's still just walking, and then the what's his name, Henderson, the Cincinnati defensive end, Hendrickson, yeah, he touches Deontay to kind of like block him, and then that's when Deontay Johnson turns around and he's like, oh, and then God, this is pathetic. I would have loved if Hendrickson like lit him up because he could have, right?
Yeah,
Deontay Johnson's the closest guy there.
I wish Tomlin
and then he still doesn't run.
I wish Tomlin just yanked him off the field, took his helmet away, and just sent him to the locker room.
I would
like the whole.
I mean,
Mike Singletary, Vernon Davis, can't play with him, can't win with him, don't need him.
Yeah, I mean, I would have cut him. You don't need that. Like, he's not that. I commented on the tweet. I said diva receiver, and he's whatever I said. I'm paraphrasing, but I was like, he's not even that good. You can't be a diva if you're not that good. Like his only good year, he was a reception hog with check down Ben Roethlisberger his last year. And he's done nothing else.
Yeah.
He's not explosive. He's a decent route runner, and he can catch the ball sometimes. But what do you do for me? Like, just get rid of him, cut him.
I'm honestly surprised the Steelers didn't announce like after the game, like he's been suspended one game or something like that.
Yeah.
But anywho, next up we have the Carolina Panthers coming to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Titans walk away with the victory, 17-10. It's a pretty ugly game. Derrick Henry, rushed for about 80 yards and had 2 touchdowns. And that was about the biggest difference. Titans had an absurd amount of penalties. Honestly, just to show how bad the Panthers are, this game really shouldn't have even been close. The Panthers had several third downs where they should have been punting get extended because of penalties. Deservedly so. Like they were penalties, but like a more disciplined team would not have had those plays. Um, Titans had multiple short yardage situations where they had false starts to back them up. Uh, Will Levis, again, I'm surprised he's not more shell shocked playing behind this O line. But he, late in the game, DeAndre Hopkins like hit a double move and got wide open, like would have been like 10 yards open going for the end zone. And it looks like Will Levis pulled his eyes down because he felt pressure and like threw out for his outlet pass. And then, yeah, it was my biggest takeaway from this game is the Panthers are just depleted of talent. I know they have a lot of injuries this year, so it doesn't help, um, but I think if you just look side by side, drive by drive, Will Levis compared to um,
Bryce
wow,
Young.
Bryce Young, like I think Will Levis looks like the better player. Bryce Young, he extended some drives with his legs, but the Titans are terrible at containing quarterbacks, so he should have done that. Um, I just thought, Will Levis, bigger body, looked calmer in the pocket, uh, kept his eyes downfield, moved better in the pocket. And I mean, maybe I'm biased. I've been against Bryce Young since the offseason. I said I wouldn't draft him in the first, I wouldn't draft him if I had a top pick. But yeah, all the Titans did was double and like triple coverage or double and bracket coverage, Adam Thielen, and basically took away the entire Panthers offense.
Yeah, I mean the Panthers suck. They've pretty much fire sailed their entire offensive staff. Got rid of Frank Reich.
Oh yeah, we didn't even address that. Frank Reich got fired today.
Frank Reich got fired today. They also fired ex-Eagles running back coach Deuce Staley, and they fired ex-Eagles quarterback, now quarterbacks coach ex-quarterbacks coach Panther for the Panthers, Josh McCown. So they obviously weren't happy with the development they were getting from the coaches for Bryce Young. Their offense sucks. Their defense sucks. Really, actually, the only thing statistically team-wise they're good at is pass defense, but I think that's more so the quarterbacks they've played this year really hasn't been, murder's row. But they can't throw the ball. They can't run the ball. They signed Miles Sanders this year. I think it was the right move probably to move on from those coaches. Their owner, they're just a dysfunctional franchise. I don't really like their owner. I don't know much about him, but he's said some weird things. I still like Bryce Young. I just think they need to get just seeing the difference between CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. It's not only like, yeah, CJ Stroud's playing really good, and no, it's not for certain Bryce Young would be doing what Stroud is doing. Stroud just looks really polished, and among other things, there's like internally to him why he's good, but they have a stable coach who D'Amico Ryans who set a good foundation for the team and had an idea of what he has an idea for what he wants it to be, and a good what's the word,
structure,
no, like whatever, how a vision for the team, and they have good, I can't think of the word, I'm brain dead right.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and the Panthers don't have that, and they just got rid of all their coaches, so that's even going to make it worse. But
yeah, I just think I think the Titans are awful this year, and if they lost to the Panthers, I would have been pissed.
They would have gotten a better draft pick.
That would be the only plus side. Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went to Indy to take on the Colts. Colts walk away with the victory, 27-20. For the Buccaneers, basically, they could not stop the run. Mayfield threw 2 touchdowns and an interception, 2 touchdowns to Mike Evans, but the Colts ran for a combined 155 yards, including 2 rushing touchdowns from Jonathan Taylor and a rushing touchdown from Gardner Minshew. Baker was also sacked 6 times. And he also lost, he fumbled twice and lost 1. And that's basically the difference in the game. Whoops. I don't think Baker's been awful this year. But he was 20 of 30 for 200 yards. Minshew was 24 of 41 for 250 yards. Biggest thing in the Buccaneers games, it just seems like Baker's always under distress, and the Colts, able to establish the run and got 3 touchdowns and then tacked on 2 field goals.
Yeah, I think what that was weird. I think what this proves is that Shane Steichen's a really good coach. He's got the Colts at 6-5, and they lost their top 5 drafted franchise hopeful quarterback Richardson, and they've been running with Minshew all year. So good coaching, and then the Buccaneers, they've pretty much done what I think Baker Mayfield showed that he belongs in the league this year. They were never going to make the playoffs. They're an older team. I don't know if that's true statistically, but I'm pretty sure they are. And Todd Bowles isn't really a great coach. The defense is still okay, at least against the run. I don't really think it's that great against the pass. I don't know. Colts did what they were supposed to do at home, but big blow for them losing Jonathan Taylor for a few weeks when they had a shot at the playoffs. So we'll see how they do the next few weeks without him.
Yep. If you're the Colts, Jonathan Taylor fussed for, all this money and missed games. What did he miss? 4 or 5 games to start the season, and now week 12, he's gonna miss another 2 to 3. So,
yep,
it's not helping out the running back market. Now we have, there's a lot of bad games on this schedule, but this is one of the worst ones. Patriots went to New York to take on the Giants. Giants win 10-7. Tommy DeVito throws for 190 yards and a touchdown. Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots has a pretty good game. 20 carries for 98 yards and a touchdown. But unfortunately, the Patriots missed what would have been a game-tying field goal. Patriots quarterback play is just awful this year. You can make a decent argument that Bill Belichick's tanking for like Drake May or something.
He might be tanking for the next coach, if that's what he's doing. I don't know what possessed me to bet the over on this game, but I did, and it ruined one of my parlays. Why can't I click on it? I don't remember what the over under was, but I don't know why I did that. Yeah, the Giants suck. The Patriots suck. The Giants are running with Tommy DeVito, and he's kind of a cool story, I guess. Lives with his parents. He's Italian, I think.
Did you say he's Italian, you think?
He's Italian, right?
Yeah, just the whole you're like he's Italian, I think.
I don't know. I don't want to label him if he's not Italian. Maybe he's Greek or something. I don't know.
I mean, he's definitely throwing the Italian vibe out.
Yeah, but yeah. This,
The
like you said,
touchdown
this is a.
celebration.
Oh yeah. That's right. It was. Stinker of a matchup, and that's what we got. 7-10.
The Giants are fighting really hard to not win. With all the things considered, Daniel Jones is done. Brian Dable is apparently there's rumors that he wants to get out.
Oh, really?
And the Giants are trying desperately to not have a high pick.
They need it. They need a quarterback.
Well, they keep.
I think Dable's a decent coach. That's pretty funny that he wants to get out of there.
Yeah, part of me wanted to be like, you know what, this is your team. Like, you signed a contract, because it was like Dable and the Giants might have mutual separation. I'm like, listen, if you want to quit, but don't give me that it's mutual. There's no way the Giants would get rid of you.
Yeah.
That moves us to one of the better games of the weekend. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Houston Texans. Jags walk away 24-21. Unfortunately, the Texans had a late field goal to potentially tie the game that banged off the crossbar. But I mean, this is a game that I felt like it's kind of marred by some questionable calls by the referees. Trevor Lawrence threw for 360 yards, but one touchdown, one interception. CJ Stroud threw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Neither running game really got going. ETN had 20 carries for just 50 yards, and then CJ Stroud led the Texans with 47 yards. But I backed the Jags for 1 week, and they let me down. The game is just right at the start of the game. I think early on, Tank Dell caught that seam for I don't know. I was gonna say 50 yards. Let's just say it's 40 yards or whatever. And they're celebrating and whatnot. And then 20 seconds later, the refs call a penalty, and it was apparently for illegal shift. And from everything I've read, there was no illegal shift. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if someone on the Jaguars yelled out illegal shift and a ref panicked, because once you call it, you can't challenge it, you can't review it. But there was no illegal shift, from what I've read and saw people say, and it was the flag was thrown so late. Illegal shift is the flag usually comes out right when the ball is hiked, not 20 seconds after a 40-yard pass happens.
Yeah, and if there needs to be sometimes the late flags or the refs have a conversation about it, but what's there? Yeah, like you said, you either see it or you don't see it, and if you don't see it, how are you going to confer later on about it and then throw the flag? Makes no sense. Yeah, those are the types of penalties where the refs really need to. They should have to explain what the thought process was behind that. I don't know if that's required. I know sometimes teams can put in request, I guess, for the reasoning behind calls. I don't know if it's for every game and we just see some of them, but yeah. Just missing a call is one thing, or throwing the flag with certainty and missing it, and you got it wrong. That's one thing. To not call it like you said, and then to call it so late, just smells suspicious to me.
Yeah, and then there was the play late. I don't know if this would have necessarily affected the game or not, but there was that sideline catch to Tank Dell where he caught the ball up high, and it looks like in replay and on the little stop frame, the still frame, it looks like it's 2 feet clearly down, and the refs called it incomplete, and then reviewed it and still said it was an incomplete pass.
Yeah, strange stuff.
So, Jags, sneak out a win. This would have made the division race a lot more compelling with it only being a 1-game difference, and the Texans would have had the division sweep of the Jags. I mean, the Texans would have had the division sweep of the Jags. But you know what? Decent game. CJ Stroud's
Had another
else.
good game.
Yeah, he's a baller.
26, 36, 304, 2 touchdowns. He did have 4 sacks. I think Josh Allen had a few of those. And he didn't get any help from the running game. Singletary had been helping out a lot the previous couple games. I think he had over 100 yards twice, and then nothing this game. CJ Stroud, surprisingly, is their leading rusher with 47 yards and a touchdown.
Yep.
Just a tough divisional game. Sucks because, the Texans could be they would have both been 7-4. So.
Yeah. Yep.
That's how it goes.
Well, moving on. Our next game, Cleveland Browns go to Mile High to take on the Denver Broncos. Broncos walk away, winning their 5th in a row, 29-12, which brings them to 6-5 on the year. Who would have guessed that after their terrible start? Browns fall to 7-4, kind of equally surprising. Russell Wilson kind of had his typical game on this little win streak. 13 of 22, 130 yards, 1 touchdown. The Broncos ran the ball 39 times for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. 18 carries for Javonte Williams, 7 from Samaje Perine. Wilson ran the ball 11 times for 34 yards and a touchdown. And then Marvin Mims got a carry, and Jaleel McLaughlin got 2. With this Denver passing game, you're really just looking for occasional chain movers here. Cortland Sutton had his shots, 3 for 60. Marvin Mims had 2 for 24. And then Adam Troutman caught the 1 passing touchdown. It was just a short pass in the end zone. But for the Browns, Dorian Thompson-Robinson started the game. I think these stupid ads started the game. I'm pretty sure he got knocked out at some point, unfortunately. I think he got diagnosed with a concussion. Yeah. And PJ Walker took over, but I mean, it's just, I think Myles Garrett got a little injured in this game too, but if you're the Broncos, they came in with a game plan, like, we're not going to turn the ball over, we're going to grind out the yardage, and they didn't let the Browns defense win the game, and they didn't give the Browns any short fields, and they ran the ball 30 plus times right at 4 yards a carry. It's not pretty, but it's productive, and they got the win, 5 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, they've really found a recipe for success in this 5-game winning streak. Really since the 70-point
disaster
meltdown, they had against Miami in Week 3. Their defense has been pretty good. They gave up. I mean, the next 2 weeks after that, they still gave up 28 and 31 points. But their offense was still turning the ball. They were turning the ball over a ton offensively the first 6 weeks of the season. But in the 5-game winning streak, they've protected the ball, and the defense has been really good. I mean, they've given them 19, 17, 9, 22, 20, and 12. They forced 1 turnover, 5 turnovers, 4 turnovers, 3 turnovers, 3 turnovers, and on their offensively, they've only turned over the ball 3 times. So, like you said, Russell Wilson's been really efficient. They're running the ball efficiently. You said it's not pretty, but their defense has hits. They're pretty much playing the way the Jets wish they could play. Where if they just had a quarterback that could be manage the game,
move the chains when needed,
throw a touchdown or 2, not turn the ball over, give them a $150 to 200 yards, and just give us enough points to win, which is what they're doing. I think Vic Fangio said, I don't remember if this was a quote from him during this year or something, but I think it was somewhere along the line. I'll paraphrase, but Vic Fangio was saying that his defense is complicated and that it takes time.
Defensive coordinator?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they got him this offseason. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's the Dolphins defense coordinator. Is that what you just said?
I'm pretty sure.
He's the Dolphins defense coordinator. Brain fart. He was the Denver Broncos head coach.
Yeah.
So, forget all that. Their defense is playing really well. Now I'm curious who their coordinator is. Because they brought in somebody. Oh, it's Vance Joseph.
Yep.
He's a good defense coordinator.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, forget that. I thought I had a good, cool little thing to say, but yeah, Broncos they're doing good. I think they have Texans will be a real test next week, but they have beat the Bills and Kansas City in this win streak. I mean, they don't have a gimme schedule. They have 3 away games in a row. That sucks. That's Texans, Chargers, and Lions, so tough schedule, but we'll see.
Yep. Next up, we have the LA Rams went to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Blew them out 37-14. I was a little surprised by this game, actually. For the Rams, was in Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams, he comes back from injury, and if you just sat on him in fantasy, it paid dividends. He had 16 carries for 143 yards, and he had 6 catches for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. Sam Bradford, where did that come from? Oof. Matt Stafford threw for 220 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, no sacks. Fortunately for me in fantasy, Cooper Kupp got dinged up, did nothing, but Tutu Atwell had 70 yards. Like we said, Kyren Williams had 60 yards. Tyler Higbee chipped in 2 more touchdowns. And the Cardinals just weren't able to get anything going. Let's check this real quick. Kyler Murray was 27 of 45 for 250 and a touchdown, took 4 sacks. James Conner, 6 carries, 20 yards. Really what happened is the Rams just, got on the Cardinals. They went up 21-8 at halftime, and it just changed the Cardinals' play style. And the Rams were able to just, hold them off, kept scoring into the second half, and just snowballed from there.
Yeah, I don't have much on this game. Surprised that it was the blowout it was, but Cardinals are kind of in tank mode. Rams are 5-6 with the win. Not really expecting much out of them this year anyway, so good for them for the good win, I guess.
Yep. Next up, started out looking like it'd be interesting. We had Chiefs at Raiders. Raiders got out to a 14-0 lead. Josh Jacobs had like a 65-yard rushing touchdown to make it the 2-score lead. And you're thinking, okay, like this is interesting. And then from that point on, the Chiefs outscored them 31-3. Pat Mahomes threw for 290 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then Isaiah Pacheco also scored 2 touchdowns. And
Yep, he was sitting cozy on my bench.
It's really a tale of the first 1/3 of the game and the last 2/3. You thought the Raiders, when they spotted a 14-0 lead, maybe they can keep it interesting, and then cream rises to the top, and it's all Chiefs from that point on.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs maybe just had a little bit of a hangover from the loss against the Eagles. And once the Raiders went up 14-0, they were kind of like, oh, we can't really afford to lose this game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Raiders marched down the field, scored their first touchdown, and then later in the game, it was still 7-0. Like, Josh Jacobs, 65-yard to the house. And then, like you said, the Chiefs put on their big boy pants and said, all right, we're the Chiefs. Let's get to work.
As soon as Josh Jacobs ran to the end zone, the Chiefs became the Undertaker meme where he rises from the coffin.
Yeah, basically.
If only Josh McDaniels still on the sideline, that would be a great video to edit. You just make him be Randy Orton. He's panicking in the ring.
Andy Reid just with a cheeseburger in his hand.
Yep, that's a good one.
That's a funny one. We have to see what I can do with that.
Yep.
But yeah, enough said. Like, if you're a Raiders fan, like, for a moment you were happy, and then it was basically went how we all thought it went. Moving on, the game of the week, possibly game of the year.
Oops, sorry.
We had the Buffalo Bills come into Philly to take on the Eagles, and after going into overtime, tied 31-31. The Eagles walk away victorious, 37-34. It was a duel of two of the better quarterbacks in the league, two of the better dual threats in the league, showing off arm talent and some of their wheels. Came down to the wire. This is a stamp on the Jalen Hurts MVP journey, and it's another one where you just feel bad for Josh Allen. But I will let you take over.
I don't feel bad for him. He had a great game. I guess, I mean, as an Eagles fan, I don't feel bad for him because he was annoying me all game, continuously over and over again, converting 3rd and longs. We had him in 3rd and longs all game. He was either making really good throws or making really good scrambles, doing that dumb pump fake all game. Yeah, I mean, it was really a tale of two halves for the Eagles. As much as Josh Allen was having his way, the Eagles defense, like I said, they were putting Josh Allen was just that good. I thought the Eagles defense did okay. There were times when the Bills were able to move the chains, running the ball. But for the most part, they held them to 3rd and longs, and Josh Allen just made those crazy plays. They blocked the field goal in the first half. It was a really good play by Jalen Carter. It was 17-7, and the Bills scored twice, I believe, on 2 turnovers by the Eagles. One being a tip ball interception from Hurts, and then
bad handoff. And
then a bad handoff, which I thought both were bad play calls, and I also thought I thought the offense was definitely one of Jalen Hurts' worst halves. I thought both turnovers were just as much on him as the play call. I thought he was a little hesitant with the handoff, and then he shouldn't have thrown the ball because the defensive end that's playing well for the Bills, been around for a while. I can't remember his name. Anyway, he was running right at Hurts. Also, the tight end Stoll was covered. He would have gotten tackled right away. I just thought Hurts maybe in those situations. He's done it a few times this year. Just hold the ball or take a sack or something. But yeah, I mean the Bills went up 17-7 at halftime. I went upstairs. I got some turkey. I got some leftovers. I was ready to mail it in. I got some food to enjoy, and really the second half started off similarly. I think the Eagles had a 3-and-out. I don't really remember what the Bills did. They didn't score or anything. And then the Eagles had, I mean, it pretty much turned around from there. A.J. Brown, touchdown pass from Jalen Hurts on a really nice play, one of those RPO fakes to the tight end. They got him early. I think it was earlier on that drive.
Yeah, A.J. Brown fakes kind of the crack block and then turns basically, it was like a fake crack zig route kind of.
Yeah, they set it up at least on that drive or maybe a few times leading up to that point, going the fake for Hurts, him running out and then throwing it to the underneath tight end. So good play design there.
I'm actually going to steal that play call. It would go into my offense perfectly.
It would. It can be something the kids can do. The next drive was a killer because the Bills did what they had been doing all game, converting long third downs. And I think it was third and long again in the end zone. The Eagles blitzed. I thought they just weren't doing a good job containing Josh Allen all game. And with a quarterback like him, he'll make you pay if you don't if you don't land with the blitzes. And he went right through the gap on the blitz, made Reed Blankenship miss, and scampered in for a touchdown. Went up 24-14. That was at the end of the third quarter. And then I'm trying not to do a play-by-play here, but I'm kind of doing that. Jalen Hurts took over in the fourth quarter. He had a really good pass.
I was going to say, fourth quarter, I don't know the series of events, but you can just sum it up with that pass to Zacchaeus where Hurts rolls out to his left. Defense is closing in on him. Doesn't panic. Keeps his eyes downfield as he's scrambling. I mean, Zacchaeus was covered, and Hurts just throws the ball towards the back of the end zone over the DBs.
One of the best passes I've ever seen.
Throws it at the back of the end zone, right over the DBs. Zacchaeus, jumps up, gets it, falls down in bounds. But it's because Hurts, he wasn't fearing the rush. He wasn't looking to run. He was rolling out, buying time, keeping his eyes downfield, keeping the play alive as long as possible, and to have the calmness and the confidence to throw that pass, pinpoint. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the Eagles are. Go ahead.
No. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I mean, I was talking too much play by play, but pretty much the Eagles have taken on the personality of Jalen Hurts. It happened all throughout the first half, whether it was the pick or the fumble, whatever was happening. Jalen Hurts walked over to the sideline, sat down, looked at the clip or the tablet they get, sat there, didn't look phased. Really the same thing for the rest of the offense. They cut to in the second half while the comeback was happening, even when Josh Allen was making plays, they cut to Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown just sitting on the sideline, sitting on the bench, not really looking phased. And Jalen Hurts, he just makes these plays, and he still looks unfazed.
Yeah. I mean, people talk about how Jalen Hurts is starting to gain traction as, just attitude-wise, arguably the best ever when it comes to a quarterback. Just perfectly level all game long. Like you can't really tell if he throws a game-losing pick or a game-winning touchdown. There's no difference. There's no panic unless I think after he threw the Zacchaeus pass, he's just sitting there on the sideline with his jacket on. Just
Well, yeah, the best moment of the game, besides the game winner for Hurts, was when Jake Elliott hit that 59-yard field goal, which was probably one of the best field goals I've ever seen.
yeah,
I don't know how he made that.
I was gonna say like typical Eagles fashion. The Zacchaeus pass happens, and you're like, oh, Eagles are in control. Josh Allen, all he does is march down the field, throws a laser to Gabe Davis with 2 minutes left to take the lead.
Yep.
Eagles get the ball. Jason Kelsey,
They marched down the field well.
Yeah,
then,
Kelsey uncharacteristically false starts twice. Eagles aren't able to really. You thought you were at first. You're like, oh, the Eagles are going to just easily get in a field goal range, if not touchdown range, and they couldn't even do that. And it's 59 yards. And I got a little worried. I like Elliott; he's a good kicker, but I felt like the jinx was
Best
on
kicker in the NFL.
I felt like the jinx was on because they're like, he's never missed a kick in overtime. He never missed a kick in the playoff. He never misses a kick. They're like he never misses a kick to tie or take a lead. All this stuff. They're going on and on and on. Meanwhile, it's a 59, might as well be a 60-yard kick in the rain, and there was wind. Like the flags were whipping around, and then it is a laser. Just a laser, and you could tell from his reaction off the foot, he was like, yep, that's good.
Yeah, it moves around a lot. I did not think it was good. I couldn't believe. I thought it was because it was in, and then it looked like it was going out. But he could have made that from like 70. It seemed like he just hit it with like the line drive. I don't know how he got it by any of the blockers or whatever, but just really good execution. But the reason why I brought that up was because they cut to Jalen Hurts sitting on the sideline. He shakes his head like, can't believe it had to come down to that, but just unfazed. And then in overtime. This is where I do feel bad for Josh Allen, I guess a little bit. I don't, but if I said I would. I think it's 3rd and 6, and the Eagles do a zero blitz. I guess it's an option route for Gabe Davis to go inside or outside, which I think is kind of weird.
It's apparently the zero blitz call, like that's just a read that the receiver has to make against the zero blitz. So it's like it's not like they just called an option route. It's like when there's a zero blitz, like it's the receiver makes the read. And at first I was like, just as a fan, I was like, 50-50 ball. That's why I call a zero blitz, because I'll just say it as it is. The Eagles hadn't covered well, and then when they did cover well, Josh Allen just took off for a conversion. So you call a zero blitz, so there's no time for receivers really, and there's nowhere for him to run. And Gabe Davis gets, I think it was Slay. Gabe Davis got by.
Oh yeah.
And he like drifted out, and Allen threw the ball down the seam, incomplete. They got to kick a field goal. But listening to the bigger shows, I think it was Michael Irvin, Keyshawn Johnson, and there's another former receiver, I can't remember who. They were like, in that position, if you're Gabe Davis, once you get on top of the receiver, you just keep going. There's no reason. They're like, you'd only snap outside if you had to get separation. But they're like, you got past the corner, so just keep going. And then it's the one I can't remember. He said like the biggest fault on Gabe Davis was, even if you drift out, you still look inside over your inside shoulder, because then if you look because Josh Allen's inside you, so if you look over your inside shoulder, you can probably still make an adjustment towards the ball. But because he looked over his outside shoulder and spun his body all the way around, he had no room for mistake. Like the way he ran that route, unless Josh Allen throws the ball right on him, he wasn't going to catch it.
Yeah, here's my argument to that whole thing. People saying, "Oh, the Eagles," because they're other side of the argument is the Eagles got lucky again.
No, you call
Yeah,
a
they
zero
did
blitz to force that.
exactly. Also, if you look at the replay, if Gabe Davis had a ran to where Josh Allen threw the ball, look at the replay. Slay would have been in position for that ball. He underthrew it. He threw it to where like Slay was. So if Gabe Davis was running inside, I think Slay it would have hit Slay in the back. Maybe it would have been pass interference or something. But Slay's pretty good, I feel like, at
Yeah, I mean,
making plays.
that's where I agree. Like it's not luck because you call a zero blitz to force that quick throw. It
Yes.
was bad weather, windy, rainy. I know Josh Allen throws through blizzards, so who cares? But you call that zero blitz to force a quick throw. Usually, and I'm not saying I'm some defensive genius, but Slay did get beat. But in that coverage, his job is to force the receiver outside, which he did. And you're right. If Josh Allen tries to throw it over his head the way he got positioned, yeah, maybe Slay is in position to swat that ball away. But
No. I'm saying the way Josh Allen did throw it. I'm saying if Gabe Davis played the ball, like if that was where the ball landed, it was almost behind Slay. Like it wasn't like the ball. It's not like he
yeah,
threw
so
it
you're
to
saying
the
that
end.
had Gabe Davis ran in, Slay would have probably been in position to break up the
Yeah, to
pass.
make a play or something.
Yeah, but like, hey, that's exactly why you call that play as a defensive coordinator. Like, it was. We've seen it time and time again. Like, oh, I wish I had that. Like, that's the whole point of the NFL. You don't get redos, you don't get passes back. So
You said it
unfortunately,
better than I could have. That's the point of the zero blitz to make them
yeah, the
mistake.
Bills settle for a field goal, and uh, the Eagles get the ball back, and
March right down the field.
DeAndre Swift gets a few nice carries. I think did Devontae Smith have like a did he get that like 20-yard pass on that drive?
Yeah, it was a beautiful throw. Hurts threw the ball to where two Bills were standing, but then it was like perfect
Yeah.
anticipation for Devontae Smith to come across.
And then you get down to the 12-yard line. Everyone's probably seen the video by now. Um, Apparently, according to Jason Kelsey,
Jordan Mailata.
Jordan Mailata, the Bills' defense was not what they wanted. And I guess Hertz is making audibles or fake audibles and calls and checks. And sure enough, eventually the Bills' safety walks down to the line, which is the look that they wanted. And they called that little uh,
Draw.
quarterback power with a center pull. Mulata perfectly pins down the end and washes him down the line. Kelsey pulls a play that probably only Kelsey makes. I don't think any other center's making that play. Maybe Linderbaum on the Ravens. I'll give him his credit, but there's only I don't know less than a handful of centers in the NFL that make that play on a safety of all things too. Like to get out of to snap the ball, get out of your stance, reach the safety and block him out of the way, and then once Hurts gets going, like you could see that like the Bills defense are just like, okay, yep, you win. Like that's the game.
Yeah.
I don't no Bills defender was going to stop Hurts from scoring, but you just saw it. Like they're just like, yep, we've been had. You got us there.
It was a beautiful thing.
So Hurts walks away, 5 touchdowns, 1 turnover.
2 turnovers.
Well, they gave it to the running back. I'm pretty sure.
I think they gave it to Hurts.
We can check right now. Da, 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 da.
I would hope they didn't give it to him, but I think they did.
They gave the fumble to. Oh, you're right. They gave the fumble to Hurts. It's kind of on both of them. I think it's a bad handoff by Hurts, and then Gainwell is also.
I think
it's because of the safety blitz. Gainwell went to block the safety right at the the transition point of the ball.
I blame Hurts because he hesitated on the handoff. It was a terrible play call too, but whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
But yeah, Josh Allen, I think I tweeted out, you got to feel bad for him. He put the whole team on his back and unfortunately still lost a close game. But Hurts, that's an MVP game right there. That 5 touchdowns. What literally starting the game out, that's like the definition of like a superstar. You don't have it. You play terribly. He had 30 yards in the first half. And then the second half comes out not phased. Drops, was it in the second half? What he passed for 3, run
like
for
16
1?
For
He had 4 touchdowns in the second half.
Yeah.
And unfazed, MVP moment. And it's just like, sorry, Buffalo, like that sucks, but Philadelphia's this has been what they do all year. They just they play overall B, C football for what their talent level is, and they still at the end of the game they beat winning teams. I think Hurts is 14 in a row wins against teams with winning record.
Yeah, something crazy.
Which is ridiculous.
As I mentioned, Dak Prescott splits. I'll do the same for Hurts. Now, I don't know what the problem is in the beginning of games or when the Eagles have a lead, but Hurts' numbers when they are ahead, 62 completion percentage, 4 touchdowns to 9 picks. So almost all of his interceptions are when they have the lead. Yeah, really weird. I don't know what the problem is with that. But when they're tied, he has 70% completion, 6 touchdowns, only 1 interception. He also had three rushing touchdowns when ahead, and then 2 rushing touchdowns when tied. And then when they're behind, he has a 71% completion, almost 1,000 yards passing, 8 touchdowns, 0 picks, and then 6 more rushing touchdowns. So 14 total touchdowns, 0 interceptions when the Eagles are behind for Jalen Hurts this year. So that's just incredible stuff from him. He's become a clutch, ice in his veins type player. Yeah. And that's what they've needed this year.
Yeah. My last comment before we move on to the next game, I think it was Shannon Sharp that said this. Like, you're starting to talk about Jalen Hurts the way that you've only heard people talk about Mahomes and Tom Brady.
I'll take it.
Take it how you will. But next up, we have the Sunday Night Football. Baltimore Ravens going to LA to take on the Chargers. In typical fashion, Ravens win 20-10. Chargers are going to charger. Game started out weird. Chargers were marching down the field. Herbert scrambled down to, I don't know, like the 3-yard line and gets just plastered when he's clearly stepped out of bounds. And then I think the Chargers tackle runs over, starts a fight, and no penalty on the Ravens for the late hit, and the Chargers get a penalty for unnecessary roughness. And then like a drive or two later, the Chargers punt returner waves off the punt and then gets tackled, and then the refs again, no flag. So that's basically 45 yards that were kind of squandered from the Chargers in the first quarter because of poor officiating. But if you look at the game, Herbert threw for 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Keenan Allen had 100 yards on 14 catches, but he also had a fumble. Justin Tucker missed a field goal uncharacteristically. But at the end of the day, Ravens are a well-oiled machine. They're inconsistent, but like more often than not, what they're going to do. Run the ball, play tough-nosed defense. They're going to get their points. Chargers are just bad. I don't know why Brandon Staley hasn't been fired yet. He's running that team into the ground.
Yeah, they need
Actually,
to
if it wasn't for Khalil Mack, like they probably would have lost even worse. Khalil Mack was living in the Ravens' backfield no matter what they did.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Brandon Staley sucks. The Ravens, similarly to the Eagles, for the most part, besides a few games this year, they just win. Their defense is really, really good. The Mark Andrews, I think he is out for the year. Maybe he has a chance to
I think
return.
Harbaugh said like if they go to like a deep playoff run, he could possibly come back, but I think most people have been like, no, he's out for the year.
Yeah, so that's a big blow for them. I thought Isaiah likely had a decent game when the ball was in his hand. I think he had a solid game statistically too. But I don't, I think the Ravens defense is good enough to where they should be able to. They should be able to be. They're the number one team in the conference, and they should be able to, especially if they keep the number one seed with that defense and Lamar Jackson and the way the rest of the conference is playing. I don't see why they can't have a deep run.
The one thing I'll say real quick, because I mean, there's not much to say about this game. I heard on the radio this morning because we're in the Baltimore area, so it's Ravens football. In the draft, Chargers obviously wanted a wide receiver, and they drafted Quentin Johnson. And Quentin Johnson was a playmaker in college who had inconsistent hands. Well, in the NFL, everyone's better, everyone's bigger, everyone's faster, so he's not the same playmaker in the NFL, but he definitely still does not have hands. You can argue he's cost them a couple games because of drops. Well, the receiver that was available also, Zay Flowers, the Chargers passed on. The Ravens took him, and Zay Flowers is, I believe, the Ravens' leading receiver. I think he has like 50 catches for like 600 yards, and I think he has like another 100 rush yards too. Then the Ravens kind of surprise player, Mitchell, their rookie running back, who's electric out of East Carolina, averaging almost either right at or close to 9 yards a carry on the year with like 30 carries. The Chargers apparently, worked him out a lot in the offseason, and then they did not draft him. So Mitchell went undrafted. And apparently the Chargers wanted to bring him in, except for Mitchell's dad just so happened to play for Baltimore when they won their first Super Bowl. So he wanted to go play for his dad's team. So he signed with the Ravens instead of the Chargers.
We say it all the time. Chargers are cursed, and it doesn't help when they have a bad head coach either. I'm sure he's part of making those poor decisions.
If I were the Chargers owner, I'm firing Staley and I'm rebranding the team. Not new logo, new color, and like new jersey. I'm rebranding. We're gonna be, I don't know, anything else. The LA Penguins, like I'm just ditching. I'm ditching the Chargers. The Oilers were a classic team too, and the Titans ditched the Oilers. Like, ditch the Chargers. Some other franchise can pick them up if they want to become the Chargers. You can have that curse. I'm rebranding. I'm leaving it behind. I'm saying I don't know what else to do. Getting a new coach. We're starting over from scratch.
That's actually, it's not the worst idea I've ever heard. Got to start with firing Brandon Staley.
Yeah. Then it brings us to Monday Night Football, and was that a disaster? Chicago went to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. The Bears come out on top, 12-10. It was an ugly game. They were tied 3-3 at halftime. Justin Fields threw for 200 yards, ran for another 60. DJ Moore chipped in 100 yards receiving on 11 catches. Fields fumbled twice, but on the other side, Josh Dobbs for the Vikings, he threw 4 interceptions. They could not get any offense going. I think the Bears' only touchdown was they didn't score a touchdown. It was all field goals. And yeah, the Bears get the win. Unfortunately, the Josh Dobbs story comes to an end.
Yeah, Adam Schefter posted earlier today the Vikings are going to evaluate the quarterback position during the bye week.
I mean, in fairness, I don't know who you have better than Dobbs, but It was an ugly game. I think one of the picks were tipped, but the rest of them were just bad throws.
Yeah, either way, the four picks can't. Rough.
All I'll say is props to you if you stayed up for that game.
Nope.
I watched half. I watched it till halftime just because I have DJ Moore in fantasy, and then I turned it off.
Yeah.
But that does it for our Week 12 recap. Anything else you wanted to go over today?
Not the best matchups. We got the really good Bills-Eagles classic. That's a regular season classic, but not the best week of football. There were blowouts where we expected blowouts, and the stinky teams stunk it up. So,
yeah, like you said, Eagles-Bills was a great game. Game of the year, probably. For a minute, the Raiders had their game interesting. The Packers-Lions game wasn't awful to start off the week on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, just awful from a... Yeah, I just felt bad for Lions fans.
Yeah. And then it's just, a lot of... Texans-Jaguars was good, but I mean, unfortunately, we're like...
That's true. That was a good game.
There's just there's so many teams without quarterbacks this year because of injuries and just poor roster decisions that we just have a lot of teams that it's like they don't have a shot.
Yeah, it's definitely... I've been thinking about that. The injuries have been a problem. Also, it kind of feels like a transitional period where, Tom Brady finally retired. Even though like Mahomes has been the best QB in the league and Josh Allen and the young quarterbacks have been, but it's like finally a transitional period where it's like none of the old quarterbacks are here anymore. It's all the new guys, and even new guys is like the last like 7-8 years. It's not new, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So we're figuring out who sucks, and I don't know. I don't mind the way the season's gone because it's been more ugly football, but defenses I feel like have played better too this year. Like last year, it seemed like leading up to this year, it was all about that soft shell zone coverage. Everybody was adapting and just you don't want to. It was like scared defense, and it seems like things are more aggressive this year. Yeah. So I don't think it's a bad thing. The injuries suck, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Football's football. We all love it no matter what.
That is true. That's why I'm still a Titans fan.
Out. Yeah, that's rough. It's tough to be an Eagles fan and you and RJ be Titans and Washington fans.
Hey, I root for your Eagles most weekends, so I live through them.
Well, yeah. I root for the Titans and I pity you.
Yeah, that's fair. Anything else today?
I think that'll do it.
Alrighty. Well, that does it for the show. This is No Interference. We are your hosts today, Westside and Big Sass. As always, hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for listening, tuning in. If you enjoyed your time with us, and I hope you did, like, subscribe, share, drop a comment. Follow us on social media, on Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter, at The NI Show. I have some pretty good tweets here on football games, especially on Sundays, so keep you in the game without being in the game. But as always, thank you. We appreciate the support, and that'll do it. Adios.
See ya.